Establishing connection. Incoming transmission from Echelon.
Welcome to Town Hall of February 2025. We're going to talk a little bit about the championship and the Parallel Prime Championship and League. So myself, Sean, and Nain, and Meta will talk a lot. We've got our guest Fitch here today to talk a little bit about growth and the impact Parallel Leagues and how we plan on harnessing that for Parallel. But first, we're going to start off with a little bit of an intro and update on products. Share some updates on those items, and then we'll talk about the championships and do a little Q&A session with Fitch here. So let's quick do a update on the product initiatives. So as everybody's aware, we updated Payload, which has been really successful. We've sank, I believe, over 4,400 Prime in the past couple of weeks, which is really exciting. And what else did happen? So we added that Gamma Tier redemption mechanic, which is really, really successful in the main backdrop of the Aftermath release. Incorporated that Payload was a great idea by Parallel. It's been really successful. And we'll continue to fine-tune that and integrate it into Payload. I think the biggest thing to highlight here is Payload. We're going to try to move it to be more of an active product going forward. We're going to gamify a little bit more, change the types of polls. Like right now, it's Aftermath only. We'll open up to all sets, and we have some creative ideas. And so, stay tuned on Twitter to keep an eye on those. Other key product updates: Echoes. Not a lot's moved on that you can see in the kind of on the timeline, but we are working on updating and improving that to make it more effective and more appealing to players and collectors. So expect to hear more on that following kind of the championship, which is where all of our attention and eyes are at right now. And then obviously always ever present and talked about our bonds and marketplace. So I'm going to hand it over to Meta to just give a quick update on those two products.
Thank you. So we met with the bond leads a couple of weeks ago, had a really good discussion about sort of things that they would like to see. So we're putting together just sort of like a small scope of work to figure out where bonds goes next. I think that it's a product that has seen a lot of sort of positive use within the space, and obviously it's constantly getting refined. Hopefully this week's cycle is going smooth, but yeah, we're going to essentially put a small scope together to make improvements and give bonds additional tools to sort of manage as well as players. On the marketplace side, some features are going into staging right now. We have to test it, but we hear you guys loud and clear. There are some things that we want to sort of add. So a few things are: you no longer have to lock your cards when you list them. So they'll just be sort of gasless and they'll be in your wallet. There'll be indexing from mainnet, so you'll be able to see your collection. And then we'll also be integrating this new piece called Sprinter. It's essentially allows you to pay with currency not on base. So you'll be able to pay with currencies from mainnet, and hopefully we'll keep extending the networks. So all that stuff is sort of in staging. We want to really refine it before we turn it over to community. I know you guys are awesome at breaking things, so just want to make sure it's smooth before we hand it over to you guys. Back to you, Stu.
Thanks, Meta. Yeah, it's a great update. Excited for that to continue to grow and to kind of put the fine points on those products that we're looking to do. I think two major updates on products are the tournament app, and then one more that Nain will touch on. Let's spend a little bit of time on the tournament app. As everybody knows, the tournament app has kind of been front and center of attention because it helps power the league. It's really been a really strong product experience, one that has fulfilled a critical infrastructure need, but one of the key goals is for it to also become a sync and something available more widely to the community. So there's a couple of key updates on the app. I'm going to switch over screens here to get my notes up. So upcoming down the pipeline, new additional features added. So we've added round robin and double elimination. Those are being refined and kind of finished for Worlds. So yeah, two new tournament feature modes. We already have Swiss and single elim incorporated, and we'll continue to add more features and modes as appropriate and needed by league and by the community. And I think the most exciting stuff is coming up on the horizon. Soon to be released will be monetization. So we will be able to pay to enter tournaments that our admins or devs and our team can turn on and provide. So similar to the high stakes tournaments, except for maybe higher stakes or different stakes. And we can scale those tournaments accordingly to size. We will also be adding in community admin features. So this will be a alpha kind of beta release, so closed, which will enable trusted and verified and possibly docs community members, or at least KYC members, to have access to create community tournaments or tournaments series through the app. So it won't be fully permissionless because of just some of the ways it's architected right now, and as we figure it out. But that'll allow people to do their own free-to-play community tournaments or their own organized pay-to-enter tournaments. So things like we saw recently Exile and AI Rev talking about a fight night. That could potentially be something that they could utilize to do card bans, deck bans, Paragon bans, all those things, all those features within the app will be available to the community down the line. And then one more fun feature I think we've teased is also the head-to-head format. So players will be able to create a challenge, and if they desire, just take prime on that challenge. And again, just have a 1v1 like mini tournament or single series to really settle some beefs and see some kind of cool events take place. So those are really the high level feature items that are coming up and that have been worked on. And then just more generally on the product side, we've had a number of UI updates. There's more coming down the pipeline. We will also be integrating further QL, quality of life improvements for better admin access, so they can view match history, live game stats, and more. And then trying to incorporate more data into player profiles. So tournaments will soon, your Echelon tournament ID will soon be used in the Echelon profile service, which we're building out, and is going to be a pretty exciting development. And for that, I'm going to hand it over to Nan to talk a little bit about the profile system.
Thank you, Steele. It is a great honor and pleasure to be here today with all of you. Wait, I'm just trying to find my script. It's exciting to see all these products coming to life around our ecosystem. On the last town hall about growth, we mentioned how we wanted to streamline user acquisition and retention beyond typical metrics like active wallets and such. So the profile system that Steele alluded to is an exciting new thing that we're working on. So just like building a community, building a user base requires time and solid fundamentals. And we have a great game here with Parallel TCG and some of the best TCG players from around the world. We have a lot of casual players as well. So the player base is growing, and we have a lot of people who are new to the Prime ecosystem. And they are only going to grow in the future in the coming years. And so with all of this growth, naturally, we have a lot of different apps as well. So you guys obviously have been using and seeing bonds and tournaments and marketplace. And we also have the existing Echelon website where people go for prime claims and so on. So one of our current goals is to create a platform, an app that unifies these experiences, be it tournaments or syncs or your collections and such, but an app or a platform that is focused around you as the user within the Prime ecosystem. So this is still a work in progress, obviously, and once it is set, there's unlimited potential there to add refinements. And Steele, will you be able to share some screens just so the guys get an idea of what it looks like?
Yeah, give me 1 second. I got to update some settings. I'll work on it as you're talking.
Yeah, sure. If we're unable to share any screens right now, we can also drop them in Discord later. But in general, the idea here is for a platform which is like a dashboard, like an app that is centered around you, as in your profile in the Echelon ecosystem. So building products in the Web3 space, as I mentioned on the last town hall, is not the same as the Web2 space, primarily because of the massive difference in user behavior and needs. But this is something that we are very intent on delivering, and we are very focused on this, and very excited to show you guys these in the coming months and so on. But with the profile system, the people who are using Prime and who want to be participating in the Web3 part of the ecosystem, whether that is with Parallel TCG or the upcoming titles and so on, they will have a hub to see all their collection and do all their things that they want to do on the in the ecosystem. I don't want to reveal too many things, but yeah, so it's going to be exciting. If we are able to see some screens, we can do them or we can drop them later, but that's something that we're working on, and we'd love to show you guys in the near future, and I think you guys are going to like it.
Thanks, Dan. Yeah, we'll drop those in chat. You have trouble streaming. So unless Nate, you're able to pull them up real quick, or someone else. Yeah.
Yeah,
so
sure. I'll drop
thanks,
them in
Nate.
chat.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Yeah, great work. Meta and Nate have done a ton of ideation and design, and then obviously all the EPs have kind of contributed, but Nate and Meta have been lead on this stuff, and it looks pretty awesome. And consolidating all the ecosystem into one-stop shop is going to be really nice. All right, cool. We're going to transition into next part. We're going to talk a little about championships and then talk with Fitch. So, as we all know, Parallel Prime Championship, first ever, will happen at the HyperX Arena, internationally renowned esports venue in Las Vegas, Nevada, on March 1 and 2. It's become a big event. It's going to be a big celebration of the best of Web3 gaming. We're going to crown a winner and lay out some massive prize pools. The champions will take home $100K, which is unbelievable. Yeah, so hope you can join us there. If you haven't signed up, be sure you go find that link, sign up. Hope to join you. Hope you'll join us, and you'll get some pretty sick swag if you can attend and have a pretty premium experience. So the road to championships. So for those of you not aware, there was really it was a hell of a grind to get to the championships, and so only 16 made it to the top to make it to the final championship. We ended up getting to the 16 from a knockout round of 32. So what did you have to do to get to even qualify for the knockout round? So you had to be either top 21 in league points and win a major, or top 8 in the last chance qualifier. So there was a multiple paths. So you could be a grinder, you could be be on your best day ever, or win a key marquee event and get a chance at the Shot for Glory and great prizes, and have your name mentioned in the Parallel history. Some exciting stuff will be going on. There's a lot of surprises. I know Fitch has been cooking a lot on the event. One thing that we are cooking on and are excited to announce is going to be some custom first ever Parallel Prime jerseys. Given the issues of screen sharing, we're going to drop those in chat too to share. There will be some pre-orders coming up in a couple of weeks, and I'll be dropping these in Discord General in just a minute to check it out. But now we want to talk about Parallel Prime League with Fitch from Parallel Studios, the one and only. And so I'm going to hand it over to Nane to stick in all these questions. So thanks, Fitch, for joining us. And Nane, take it away.
Thank you, sir. I will try to find the questions, the tough ones. Welcome, Fitch, and thank you for joining us today.
What's up? How you doing?
Good. Thank you. How are you doing?
Doing well. A lot going on. Very excited for Worlds.
Righto. So I'm gonna start it with the league stuff. So firstly, this is how does it feel? Because this is kind of big, right? And how did we get there from the game that you joined early on and started collecting with cards and such, and now today we're talking about this big competitive play push. Tell us a bit about how we got here with leagues and what's the thought behind it, and what's the process there.
Yeah, would be happy to. I mean, there was a strategic consideration here. Like, as a Web3 game, and I said this to the ambassadors the other day, like, we're fighting an uphill battle. You look at, in general, I think we do things at a pretty high quality level. I think we're moving fast from a development perspective. I think the core game is interesting. I think a lot of the trappings of the game, have a lot of polish that needs to come still. Like, one of the things that I would call out would be like the early player experience is not very good, right? For a relative newcomer to TCGs. But what do we have? We have a really compelling game for competitive, well-established, high strategy players. And so thinking about that, it's like, okay, well, how do we appeal to those people? And you look at the entire TCG market, and you can certainly say that one of the opportunity spaces is esports, right? Hearthstone, sort of Blizzard in general, winding down a lot of esports efforts. Just across the board, there's a bit of a gap, and it felt like a strategic gap that we could fill. And so working with you guys, I think we've been initially successful at doing that to an extent. There's a lot of more ground to be gained here, but we wanted to kind of do the first season as like a bit of a test run. And I think that we accomplished a successful test run, and that's the way I would describe it, is like, okay, let's figure out what this takes. And it takes a lot, it certainly is a big investment to make, but I think it's correct. And it's correct because it's like, this is an open opportunity space in the TCG industry broadly, and it's something that others are neglecting, and we can step in and fill that role and give people a reason why they should try this. Otherwise, it's like you're kind of fighting that perceptual battle of Web3, which the winds are starting to blow in our favor as an industry, but that does not mean that we are immediately at the point where people will have that same consideration and trial of the game as they would whatever new title comes out. All right, I've been, Meta knows I've been grinding some Path of Exile. Path of Exile comes out, it doesn't have a perceptual battle to fight, right? It's just a game. We have that perceptual battle to fight. And so how do you get people to try something? Well, you get them to try it by stepping into esports and offering that level of competitive play that they're missing. And you've seen players like Fino who are like, look, I'm just kind of tired of Hearthstone now, and I'm going to switch to Parallel and other games. And I like Parallel because it's bringing the competition that I was missing. And so it actually gives a real reason for people to fully lock in and play your game. So to me, it's really important based on where we're at right now as a product. Right now as a product, like I said at the beginning, we appeal to hardcore players. And so what do you do to get hardcore players locked in? Give them esports. So that's my short answer.
Right. Yeah. So do you think esports is the best solution to this uphill battle that you mentioned with obviously, games in the Web3 space? And if yes, to me, it feels like this is like a long race, though, right? Like a marathon. So how do you think we should be kind of expecting? What should be expecting from league in terms of, fighting this battle?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the solution now, and I think it is, like you said, a longer term solution. Like, we have to develop our ability to do esports. I think Web3 provides certain advantages for doing esports over traditional gaming studios. But like it's going to be a marathon, not a sprint, to your point. We have to continue to build our capabilities, continue to scale into it. The other thing is like, just, from onboarding perspective, esports, it's good at onboarding the upper echelon, to borrow your name. But it's not as good at onboarding like just like a very entry level player. So I think the product in Parallel Studios needs to develop, more efforts there, and that's something that's a big priority right now with work on mobile. I don't know how much certain other things have been talked about, but I think maybe we mentioned it we did mention it on stream with Veen, so I can speak to that. But like the 1Q system, kind of revising the way that the early player experience goes, updating the tutorial, having earlier, heavier sets of rewards. So it's kind of part and parcel with like a broader effort to just make the game easier to come into, and then sort of ladder you up to a deeper experience. And within the league structure itself, there's some changes that we're making to sort of improve upon the design of Season 1. So, that has broad implications, but changes to everything from like, what do qualifiers and minors feel like to what does the last chance feel like? Obviously Echelon putting up a larger prize pool. Like, there's a bunch of different things that are going to be refinements from Season 1 to Season 2. And we want to continue to have a design of the league that like allows people to come in later on and still be competitive as we scale, right? So yeah, I mean, I think it's part of the answer, and it's part of the answer because like who influences you to play games, and those are influential names or highly successful players. And I think one thing we've done a good job of as an organization is getting those type of people to play parallel. The thing that we have yet to unlock is getting the average person to play parallel, right? But you kind of have to do one before the other in our position, because the new player experience for an average player is not refined enough yet. And so, but the actual depth of the gameplay is there. So we're almost working opposite of what other studios might do, where we're starting with a platform that appeals to highly enfranchised players. Then those players become advocates, and then you sort of work backwards towards a really smooth entry level experience, and then you're able to onboard people en masse, right? And I mentioned some of those components being mobile, revised sort of tutorial, revised queuing experience, in the future, different game modes, things of that nature. So yeah, it's part of the answer, and I think it's a key part of the answer for that reason, where it's able to help you recruit high quality, enfranchised, powerful advocates, and then those advocates become advocates for others to join the game.
Yeah, that does make sense. And speaking of that, what will be the metrics that you'll be looking at in the coming months and years to be able to assess whether this and other initiatives are helping? And speaking of that, can you also touch on some of the growth numbers for the game? Because I know everyone wants to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, we would look at probably viewership of the league. I think it's something that we sort of later on in the league season, realized we want to get those viewer numbers up. Again, I would say season 1 was very much like a trial run, and we're laser focused on producing an epic event for Worlds, which I think we've managed to do. So can we do an epic IRL production as well? And yeah, from a numbers perspective, I would say viewership, and then just is the league onboarding high quality players? So are we converting net new influential players? And then is that later on, once we have mobile and other earlier onboarding parts of the experience smoothed out, is that translating to just net new raw players in the game? Yeah, I mean, from a overall growth perspective, I'd have to double check what the numbers are, but I mean, we are getting thousands of signups, a week, and working on how we convert them down the funnel into players. So that number fluctuates, but it's been at times well over 1,000 players, as in came in and played a game. Like I said, the difficult part right now is that it's not very conducive to new players. And so that is probably one of the biggest points of work that we need to smooth out. But I feel really happy with the team's overall efforts to get to that place. And I think we're in a major inflection point right now for the TCG, where over the next 3 to 6 months, quite a lot will come into play that will make that dramatically better. And that's partially the mobile rollout, partially changes to that early player experience. But to me, that's far and away our weakest point right now, and the biggest point that needs to change before we're going to go out there and flex really dramatic numbers on the TCG. Just the vector of onboarding people via mobile is massive. So I think we'll speak more to those numbers at that time. We're not the type of studio the vast majority are to just blatantly lie about numbers. And so the numbers are good, and we're refining aspects of the funnel, but they're good for where we're at, right? So I think you have to consider that this game is still on PC. It's getting slimmer, but it's still relatively high requirements on PC. And so we're once we have mobile, once we have that earlier onboarding experience flushed out, and once we're able to roll out the marketing that we've planned for mobile, which is quite substantial, then we can flex those numbers a bit more.
Right. Yeah, no, mobile's going to be exciting. I think it's also kind of like a dream come true, where we've all watched this game come to life, but having it on a mobile device is something else entirely, right? Because right now it's on a PC, it's still it's not as accessible as it can be, right?
Right. Yeah, I mean that's one of the biggest drawbacks right now. I mean, I think it's not I'm not meaning to be disparaging when I say this. I just think like the experience for a average non-experienced TCG player is just kind of bad right now. And that is the thing that needs the most improvement. And part of that is accessibility, right? That is a huge component of that. But there's other parts of it that are not accessibility related. So, there's a couple different problems to solve for there. And when we solve for those problems, then we're able to go put ourselves out there, right? And I understand, like, from the community perspective, there's the old trope, which we all laugh about, of like the when marketing, right? And like the answer is like when it's able to be maximally effective, and we're very close to that point, like far closer than we've ever been. And I really think like that Worlds as an event is kind of like the beginning, right? I had a theory that this would be the case, because our initial mobile timelines were maybe a little aggressive. There was some desire to sort of be ready with mobile in like December, and that was just completely unrealistic in my opinion. But now we're, as of probably this week, I guess I can say that, probably this week, going to start giving some ambassadors, mobile testing access. Like we sort of dabbled in it before, but I don't think the team was like quite ready to do it when we initially sort of said we were going to do it. And now it's like they're actually more ready to do it. And the delta there was like, okay, Android's ready, but iOS isn't. And the marketing and growth team's feeling was like, no, we need both to be ready. Like, we're not going to do sort of like a partial rollout here. We want it to be a rollout. And so that's going to happen kind of in phases. I think we spoke to this a little bit on the stream with Veen, but we want to sort of incrementally go larger and larger and larger. So if you're going to Worlds, you'll be able to see Parallel on mobile there for sure, and test it out and try it out. Like CL will be walking around with Parallel on mobile that you can see and feel and touch, as well as, well, we'll get into that. There'll be other cool things that you can see at Worlds. But so that process will really effectively begin at Worlds, and then every month approximately scale up to a new level after that. So yeah, to me, that's kind of the biggest domino to fall. And once we feel confident in the mobile experience, then we can go activate on a major scale for marketing. But again, I don't want to be that studio that just pisses things away and has fake numbers and does marketing to an audience of none, right? Like, or when the product's sort of insufficient to meet the needs of the users that you're marketing to. Like, we don't want to do that. So the patience is important, and I believe will be rewarded.
Yeah, man, no, that's great. And speaking of that, so can you tell us a bit about the championship in Vegas and what's going to be there? Like you mentioned, CL is going to be there with the phone. I think that's exciting. But what's the venue like? What can we expect, people who attend?
Yeah, on the CL point, I was speaking to him earlier, and like he was like, "Should I just wear a shirt that says I have Parallel on mobile?"
Yeah, you should.
I was
I
like,
think
you know what?
should.
I think that's an awesome idea.
It is.
But yeah, he'll be wandering around with Parallel on mobile and probably some like card packs to give out and things like that.
Amazing.
So yeah, there will be a bunch of swag there. I think we're gonna have like probably multiple different types of shirts, new posters, old posters. Oscar will be there signing posters. We'll have card packs to give away. We'll have the physical toys for some type of giveaway. We have a bunch of other goodies that Dave has helped us put together. Thank you, Dave. Yeah, there will be a lot of stuff that you can get in terms of the different products that sort of Parallel Studios is broadly working on. Colony will have a full demo there, which is pretty crazy. Like, I didn't realize they were going to be that far along, but what I heard today was that it will be playable. Like, you'll actually be able to play Colony at Worlds, which is insane. And there will be like updates on sort of mobile and TCG broadly, probably some discussion of the next set. I don't know exactly what that's going to involve, but Veen is down to talk about that type of stuff. Wayfinder probably have like a more full presentation of Wayfinder going on there. And then the shooter project, I've heard there will be a certain type of reveal happening there. Not going to say much more about that. but there will be more information revealed at that time. And then we have some great partners who are doing some cool stuff too. Off the Grid and Shadowline will both be there, so you can check out some unique showcases of their stuff. Overall, it's going to be really, really exciting. Like it's a jam-packed event. I've teased this, but the trophy for the event is fucking bananas. It's actually ridiculous. Very cool concept that came together. Excited for people to see that. I don't think I've ever seen a trophy like this before. So we just pulled out all the stops to really make this special. And the trophy is made of bananas. But yeah, I mean, the event's got, an absolutely jam-packed schedule full of, some of the best TCG players in the world. Let's not forget, like, these are some legendary players competing at a super high level. Awesome showcases of the other things Parallel's working on. Some special reveals, a bunch of physical swag. I've heard there's going to be some digital mints, like POAP type stuff. I've heard people are going to be trying to give away tokens. I've heard a lot of things. So
Where do you hear all of this stuff? Who tells you?
well, I mean, I'm technically the event organizer, so they tell me a lot of things, and I'm like, good for you, man. I got other shit to do. So they tell me these things.
Amazing.
But yeah,
Amazing.
there's a lot going on, is the short answer.
That's amazing. All right, so what happens after this the championship? So you mentioned there's changes for season 2. Any alpha leaks there? Any influencers that you think are going to be part of season 2 that could be people we know, or any other big things that you want to share, or small things?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm just pulled up the ambassador chat. So we had a good meeting last week to kind of go through the league structure with the ambassadors and get some feedback, because a lot of them are competitors in the league and had some thoughts on it. So I'm just reading Manos's summary that he sent to Bunny. So qualifier tourneys will now be minors, and minor winners will skip the Swiss portion of majors and go to top 16, but it will not be auto qualified from top 5 of league leaderboard. That was a piece of feedback that it kind of felt too sticky, as in, like, you could just continue to sit on the top of league leaderboard and accrue points. There's some switch up in terms of, like, prizes, points distribution, things like that. I mean, there's a couple different changes there. We're changing the way Last Chance works. Overall, I think they're really good changes that are going to really effectively distribute points, not make them too top heavy, but also allow for upside and people to, like, effectively get in if they start the season a little bit later. So everybody left that conversation feeling good about those changes. So that's that. What was the other part of the question, Nate? Sorry.
I mean, like, any influencers or any other things that you think are going to be exciting for people to learn?
So I mean, the season itself will start shortly after Worlds. I hope any competitors have been enjoying the break, unless they're competing in Worlds, in which case, sorry, you don't really have a break. So for season 2, when we activate on mobile, that's when you'll see more, like, individual influencers that, if you're looking for, like, a splashy name, that's where you'd see more of that type of stuff. The one thing that I'm exploring, and I really big emphasis on exploring here, is engaging esports organizations directly on season 2. There's a lot of different ways that can look. I don't want to say too much about it because it's very much in an exploratory phase right now. But if you think of the big esports organizations in the world, you probably know their names. I'm not going to say any names because it will lead you to believe that I'm talking to them, which I may be. But we have some conversations there about potentially activating with them. So that's kind of the logical way that we might approach season 2. But yeah, I think in general, we're just going to try and promote season 2 more heavily. So yeah, if you're looking for specific, like, individual influencers, that would be more associated with mobile. But if you're looking at, like, people to engage with on the league, that would be more at the esports organization level.
That is exciting. I wish you would drop some names, but I understand, obviously.
I don't want to do that at this time. Yeah, if they were more confirmed, then I would, but I it's not at that place yet.
Hopefully soon. So are you supporting anyone at the championship? Who do you think will take the trophy, and do you have any favorites, for example?
Yeah, I mean, I like Lambie. I think he's a super seasoned competitor. He's spoken about this before, but just like having tournament experience, that helps a lot in these high pressure types of situations. So if I had to pick one, I would pick Lambie. I think, Bridie's been playing really well. We got Jason here. I think Jason's in too, which is really cool. I mean, I think Tice could be a sleeper pick. It was really crazy to see him find his way in there, and he does have a lot of tournament experience. So, I mean, to me, one of those X factors is going to be like, have you played in, high stress competitive situations before? Because it's a lot, I mean, there's going to be an entire production crew, an entire camera crew, hundreds of people watching you, right? Like the big stage, the big lights. The pressure is going to be on, and it's difficult to compete in those scenarios. It's one thing to be behind your screen in your house at your machine competing online. It's a totally different thing to be on a different machine in front of hundreds of people on a live broadcast with however many people playing, on a stage, right? Like that's a whole different level. So it's going to be really interesting to see who can handle the pressure. And I think, the skill level, all of the players who are in are very skilled. So I don't know that that's a differentiating factor. I think the factor will be who can handle the pressure the most.
Right. I also think some of these people, the players, are obsessed with winning. I mean, it's something I can't always relate to, but I think that's also a big factor because some of these players who are in the top, they just super focused on winning, and they just hate losing, right?
Yeah,
Um,
I'd certainly say that like across the board, that's a quality that we see. It's like these people want to win, and if they have the desire to win, they're gonna really channel that to the best of their ability. But yeah, I think that deep desire to win, assuming like the skill levels are relatively equal across the players, it's really about like how much do you want it and can you handle the pressure, of the moment.
right. All right. Thank you, Fitch. That was great. Some really exciting stuff there. I will pass it back to Steele, but thank you again for your time and those great answers.
Yeah, it was good to chat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so League is fun, and the stuff that we're cooking together with the studio is going to be exciting. It's going to be a pretty epic 2025. So, really excited about that. Yeah, so I think at this point we're kind of gonna conclude. It didn't look like we had too many questions. So, Sean, if there's any key questions you wanted to flag from the community, if people have a couple, we can try to answer them in the next 5 minutes. Otherwise, we'll wrap it up tight. So we'll give it a hot second. But pick out the jerseys. We'll be dropping the screenshots for the profile service to kind of get you guys a feel of how we're thinking, how we're looking to unify the ecosystem experience. That'll also be in general very soon. Yeah, so if there's any questions, go ahead and flag them.
Yeah, happy to chill for a bit and answer some questions if you guys have any. To Cold's point, I will find a way to take a smaller dog and a bigger beanbag picture just for you. And yeah, I think CL is the main attraction. Yeah, mobile. I have it's coming along. It's coming along. I think it's really cool to see it in mobile. I think the version that will be at Worlds will be polished up a little bit too. And it's got some new design elements in there. Is the event full? No, it's not. So like the plan for the event was to have like 300 attendees, and we're at like 298 RSVPs or something like that as of today. But we can go over that because there's some people who will just have the inability to go. So like people can theoretically infinitely RSVP. There's no problem with RSVPing. We just may stop accepting people at a certain point soon. Yeah, I mean, seeing it go from where it was to where it's at in actually a dramatically short period of time is pretty crazy. I think when I'm there, it's going to feel pretty surreal. I mean, I've said like there's a lot of people working on this, and I want to really emphasize this is not my accomplishment, this event, but it is something that I've been like a major champion of and working a lot on. And I feel like it's probably the most significant thing I've ever done professionally. It's just a huge deal. I mean, HyperX is like, dude, they've got the World Series of Poker there. They've got, so many massive events happen at HyperX, and we're going to be at fucking HyperX. Like, that's crazy. It's so cool. It's going to be really great to see our players on stage. When we get exact dates, prize pools for season 2 events, that's a good question. Let me follow up on that. There's, as you can imagine, Jason, there's a lot of moving pieces right now. So I will try. I think one of the things that we talked about is revealing that type of stuff at Worlds. So that may still be the plan, but let me make a note.
Yeah, I think the goal is to reveal some of them, at least the early events, and so there will be a lot of advance notice. The whole year may not be perfectly mapped out because there's a lot of moving parts, but we are going to work on that. There will be definitely some info at Worlds, and at the start of season 2, there will be a good deal of info, but maybe just not every single event and every single weekend throughout the entire season. Does that sound about right, Fitch?
Yeah, that's correct for sure, and I appreciate the additional color there, because I know that we were talking about putting something out before Worlds, but then we were going to go into more detail at Worlds, but then obviously we're not going to have every date available at that time.
Yeah, and not everybody's privy as much as Fitch and I and others, and there's a lot of moving parts to coordinate league, and so Jason, to your point in particular, scheduling too far in advance can actually be a challenge because then you have to make changes occasionally. So our goal hopefully is to have 3-4 months in advance at least, and if we can go longer and extend beyond that, we will, and then we will probably issue tentative dates at some point.
Yeah, I think one of the conclusions of this is a lot of things will be said at Worlds. A lot of information will be given. A lot of things will be shown. We're talking about the first ever really playable demo of Colony that people are going to see outside of the team. So that's super exciting. That's obviously one of the most exciting products that we've been working on. TCG Season 2, TCG mobile updates, just next set for the TCG updates, full, Wayfinder presentation, all this stuff, right? And then with the shooter major reveal there. So hopefully you guys can go, and if not, watch the broadcast for sure, because there will be some exciting stuff. Classic name. Yeah, I mean, if I wish I could tell you guys, I really wish I could tell you guys what we have cooking. It's fucking wild, dude. It's wild. I really hope we can pull all of it off, but and I think this is the conclusion is we all want to push, right? We all want to push fast. I think we all feel that pressure of go, go, go. It's this industry, crypto especially, is what have you done for me today type of thing. But at the end of the day, is we're trying to do something that's really effectively never been done before, and that's be a breakout Western, Web3 gaming title. And if we're just being honest with ourselves, up to this point, the product has not been ready for major marketing. And when I say major, that's what I wish I could tell you is some of the things that we're exploring there. So really the process begins with Worlds, because then we're going to be showing live to real people who are not on the team mobile. And then every month from there, we'll be scaling up. So the answer is starts at Worlds.
Awesome. Thanks, Fitch. Appreciate you joining us. Always a pleasure to have you and get that insight from the studio and everything that's going on. Thanks for being part of this. Thanks to everybody else that showed up today. We'll be available via chat if there's follow-up questions. And yeah, thanks for attending this town hall, and we'll see you again in another month or two for the next one. Thanks,
Awesome.
everybody.